Hello, my name is Yanis Athanasakis, and my topic is Slenderman. My main topic idea is Slenderman is a perfect example of when horror transcends into the real world with real world consequences, with a counterargument of the real world issues tied to Slenderman are actually due to unchecked and unregulated mental illness that is on the rise. Slenderman is a creation of open source horror similar to creepypasta. The most accessible introduction to Slenderman is the Slenderman The 8 Pages, which is archived in the IndieDB website. This was originally playable on websites through Flash, though that is no longer possible. Slenderman being open source means that it was created online through a large group of strangers developing their own lore and mythos through the years. Yet its creation and ties to the real world through pseudo-history make it a danger to those underdeveloped and not properly versed in how fictional works operate. When discussing Slenderman, an important aspect of the character that needs to be discussed is mental health. The need for increased awareness and support for individuals struggling with mental health issues, as well as addressing underlying social factors that contribute to violent behavior. The issue with the Slenderman mythos is how it ties to terror of the people adding to the mythos, with the Slenderman threat being ethereal and thus any information or horror tied to it being based on anxiety of the one providing the information. Most game concepts of Slenderman revolve around walking around in the dark and finding pages that slowly make the entity more hostile, a concept that can ring true about the world and the more you learn about it, the more dangerous it seems. Anxiety is a growing issue in the United States. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, 19% of the population are suffering from a type of anxiety disorder, yet roughly 37 receive treatment. This all to say that anxiety is a large issue that plays a factor in horror such as Slenderman, an issue that is not often treated yet affects a large chunk of the population. Slenderman as a concept seems to be a representation of anxiety, as the main infliction he causes his victims is to cause them stress and anxiety, and causing an array of mental issues at the same time. Another issue tied to Slenderman is the legal implications of fictional characters and the challenges of holding individuals accountable for real-world consequences. The legal implications with accountability for real-world actions based on fictional influences and the balance of freedom of expression to public safety is difficult to regulate when underdeveloped individuals are in contact with complex concepts such as open source horror that use real-world events and images to create a mythos. Sure, those images might be altered in a way, but they are still real-life events occasionally. Key example of this would be the Slenderman stabbing that occurred in May 31st, 2014, according to the Crime Museum website and USA Today, where Morgan Gazer and Anissa Weier stabbed 12-year-old Peyton Leunter 19 times only for her to miraculously survive, seek help, and identify her would-be killers. Morgan Gazer and Anissa Weier were also 12 years old. Mental illness was a large aspect of the court case, as well as the fact that the fictional character Slenderman was a focus, as Morgan Gazer wanted to prove them real by appeasing them and this was an issue that came with her family. She wanted to show to her mom that Slenderman was real, and to prove that he was real and that they paid attention to her. And so this obsession with Slenderman that was originally last 2 years of her life before this incident transcended into literally attacking a human being to try and prove that they were real and get their approving. Slenderman stabbing creates a new issue for media literacy. There is an importance in educating people, especially the young people, into distinguishing between fiction and reality. Open source horror such as creepypasta, that Slenderman is an aspect of, relies on edited real imagery real-world imagery to create a pseudo-history or fake real-world events to create a mythos. The creation process is the same as creating myths and leaving the interpretation open to anyone who may see it. The issue is that younger individuals may add their own anxieties to the myth, adding to the storytelling of the creepypasta and making the open source horror aspect as a part of every person's boogeyman. The importance of educating young adults in the differentiation of fictional characters and reality, thus, is very important. And a bit of something that talks to that is the Stenmark et al. Slenderman chapter in Unsettling Science and Religion textbook. It is an academic book from 2018. The real counterpoint to all the issues, however, surrounding Slenderman and the call to action for better education and preparation for the young age individuals to know, is to know what is real and what is not. Creepypastas are not a new concept and not resulted in catastrophic results in recent history. They are literally someone else's lore, someone else's world building. It's important to understand that creepypastas and other forms of open source horror are not a reflection of the real world history or mental illness, accepting that the anxieties and fears that people are accumulating to create new horror does not excuse the fact that mental health disorders have been on the rise for the last decade and beyond is important. According to APA.org, on an article called Mental Health Issues Increase Significantly in Young Adults Over the Last Decade, there has been a 71% increase in psychological distress found in young adults, a 52% increase in adolescents reporting symptoms tied to major depression, and it may have to do with the digital media use. The subcultural changes that have shifted in the last 10 years have led the way to under-acknowledged mental issues that do not tie to open horror. Sure, people may use their anxieties and their fears to add to the mythos, but there is nothing that would directly connect that. It would connect open source horror to the long-lasting impact made on mental illness and mental health. I believe the issue at large is not related to how young adults are interested in open source world building of different types of concepts, but I do believe the real underlying issue has to do with the unaddressed psychological and mental health issues that have been neglected over a decade and only get worse with time. Something to discuss now, a little bit less serious. When it comes to why I chose this topic, I was tempted to choose cruising, or something I had previously researched into. Yet I wanted to choose something that I could not easily think of an argument or a point to discuss, such as if Slenderman is a concept of anxiety from its huge group of contributors, or if the issue revolves around creepypasta was an unaddressed mental issue. I grew up playing Slenderman on browsers through Flash, so I felt somewhat of a connection to it without being well enough informed to actually write anything yet. It was personal adjacent, if you will, and I thought it would make for a good challenge. Beyond that, I thought it tied to our class and the horror elements we have been discussing here and there, and also thought I would bring a little bit of real life tied to the Slenderman and the creepypasta mythos. I hope you found it informative, if not entertaining, and thank you very much for your time.